This is a story about a couple who have been married for many years, and their relationship has gone beyond the ordinary. Victor Van Allen has been at work almost all the time, and his wife Melinda doesn't get enough attention from her husband. So the couple found an alternative. Mel sleeps with other men, and VC turns a blind eye to his wife's cheating. It would seem that what is wrong if the solution suits both, but at some point, all the woman's lovers begin to disappear one by one. What really happens in the life of spouses and who eliminates men? About this, you will learn by watching the video to the end. Enjoy the movie. Vic and Melinda Van Allen, from the looks of it, were an ordinary, happy family, raising a daughter Trixie and building their family life. On this day, the couple was going to attend a party, and Melinda was a little excited about the gathering. The doorbell rang. The babysitter came in. Victor greeted the girl and went upstairs. His wife called him into the bedroom. The woman was choosing a dress for the evening and wanted her husband. To help her decide on the outfit, Vic picked out the dress and helped his wife put on the new shoes. He had recently brought her as a gift from New York. Melinda watched her husband's careful movements and asked if he knew the woman loved him. The couple drove to the party in a good mood. Once inside the house, the man helped his wife take off her outerwear. Melinda took a glass of champagne and they joined the buffet. The couple talked with their acquaintances about the education of their children. The loose morals in the upbringing of the child surprised the acquaintances. But the heroes had their own point of view in this matter and were not going to get into similarities. Melinda was frankly bored in the crowd. She saw Joel, her close friend. Vic also noticed the guy and how pleased his wife was with the appearance of an acquaintance at the party. He grabbed a drink from the bar and walked down the hall, searching for the couple with his eyes. Mel led Joel out of the hall and into the courtyard, where the sounds of live music were coming from. Her husband went to the window and saw the couple kissing downstairs. Melinda felt her husband's gaze, looked at him through the window, and continued to fondle her friend. Vic left, and an acquaintance approached him and began discussing Melinda and Joel dancing by the pool. The woman didn't like the behavior of her friend's wife and decided to tell Vic about his wife's cheating, but the man didn't want to develop that dialogue. Melinda drank too much and started partying hard, dancing on the piano. When her husband approached, she staged a performance for him and the guests. At the bar, Victor met Joel. The guy decided to thank the man for his hospitality and the opportunity to be a close friend of his wife. In response, Vic told the guy a story about a man named Marty who had been friends with Melinda before Joel. Guy wondered he had heard of the man, but he didn't believe Victor had anything to do with his disappearance, to which the man simply replied that he had killed her friend. Joel decided it was best for him to go home. After the party, Mel began to question her husband about what had happened to Joel. Victor didn't want to discuss their conversation and asked the woman to get in the car. On the way home, Melinda found a bitten apple in the glove compartment and fed it to her husband. While Victor was paying for the nanny, his wife went into the kitchen and began undressing, which embarrassed the girl and her husband. Having seen off the nanny, Vic helped his wife to get rid of her clothes. They began to discuss the relationship. Mel said that despite the stupidity of her lover, she felt comfortable with him and asked her husband to close the doors behind her. The man left to watch the snails. At breakfast, Vic chatted with Trixie, who was doing a science experiment for school, and later drove the little girl to class. The man's friends met him for lunch and began discussing his wife's behavior. At home, Melinda gave her husband a scandal for hurting Joel and told him that he should apologize to the boyfriend at dinner. At the appointed time, Joel arrived at the Van Allen family home. Told that the guy was allergic to seafood, Vic prepared special dishes. At dinner, the guy tells that he is going to leave for another city for work. Melinda is happy about his decision and promises to come to visit. She gets right at the table, taking the guy's sandwich, and eats it with pleasure. Victor reminisces about how their first date went, but gradually their conversation turns into an argument. His wife sends Viz to read Trixie's fairy tale. While Melinda entertains a guest, they read the book and talk about Mom. When the man comes downstairs, he sees his wife having fun with Joel. He starts rattling the dishes to get the couple's attention. Melinda came into the kitchen to pour a glass of alcohol for the guy and asked her husband to take the drink to the guest. Joel thought Vic wanted to apologize, but the man said his cab had arrived and shoved the guy out the door. At another holiday party, the Van Allen couple meets a writer, Don Wilson, and his family. The man reproaches Victor that he develops military chips, which he created, kills people, and it is not ethical. But Victor's friends do not share the writer's opinion and laugh with his accusations. Melinda and her daughter went dancing. Vic watched them having fun. Then the writer's wife, Kelly, came up to him. She complimented his wife, and the man decided to ask the girl to dance. This caused a big reaction among his friends because he usually avoided this kind of entertainment. On the way home, Melinda decided to discuss with her husband about his dance with Kelly. She decided that her husband liked the girl. The wife became jealous, smiled slyly, and decided to brush her teeth right on the road, which her husband was very happy about. The couple had a wild night at home. In the middle of the week, the couple went to see Trixie play soccer while they were discussing the players on the opposing team. The man received a call from the bank. The clerk informed Vic that his wife wanted to transfer $3,000 for piano lessons to the account of one Charles Delilah. The man decided to find out who this new acquaintance of his wife and came to the bar, where Charles played the piano. Sitting at a table, he saw his wife who had come to meet the pianist. Victor got upset and went home. His daughter was waiting for him there. She was playing poker with her nanny. Later, Melinda returned home in an unhinged state. Vic asked where she had been, and the woman told him about meeting a new friend and drinking a lot of alcohol. The man helped his wife undress and broke the news of the death of Martin McCrane, her missing lover. The news made a strong impression on the woman. Trixie and Victor took a puppy from the shelter. The girl decided to name him Roger. On the way home, the girl was worried about her mom's condition, and the man saw a pianist walking down the street with a bouquet of tulips, these same flowers he discovered on his kitchen table when he returned home with his daughter. He met a friend at the bar where Charles was playing. The man praised the boy's playing, and Victor confided that the young man was teaching Melinda how to play the piano. At night, as Vic tended to his pets, Melinda is relaxing in the car with her friend. She wants to try something interesting and explores the guy better. All night, Melinda was not at home, and when she came, Vic began to ask where the woman had been all this time. The spouses began to quarrel. Miel provoked her husband to get at least some emotions from him, but Victor was as restrained as always. He tried to forbid Melinda to meet with her new friend, but his wife ignored his words. In the midst of a new party, Charlie appeared in the house. Melinda introduced him to everyone as her close friend, and the guy played a little piece on the piano. To placate Vic during Charles' performance, a woman approached and began flirting with her husband. A little later, she introduced the men. Charlie thought Vic's face looked familiar, but he denied it. The party died down a little, and the man lost sight of his wife. A friend said Melinda was upstairs. He saw Victor watching the guy in the pool, but he didn't pay it any mind. When Vic went into the kitchen, he wanted to eat fresh cookies, but the baking tray was hot and the man burned his hand. Melinda began to worry that she didn't see Charlie among the guests. She went to the balcony and saw the guy's body floating in the pool. The men pulled him out and tried to resuscitate him before the ambulance arrived, but it was too late. Mel became hysterical and was taken into the house. Police arrived on the scene and began questioning those present about the party. Vic's wife told the detectives that her husband had killed Charlie. Friends were shocked by the woman's words and subsequent hysteria. The cops took Melinda away to talk privately and then called Vic to get his statement. In the car, the couple rode in silence, Melinda suffering over the death of her friend. Upon returning home, Vic asks the woman if she is afraid of him. Melinda makes it clear that she is not afraid since he would do it for her. Victor went for a ride on his mountain bike. On the way, his memory flashed back to how he and Charlie had wrestled in the pool that night, how his wife and the pianist had had intimacy. It was hard for him to think about it. The man pulled into his den and noticed some car following him. It was unexpected. When Victor took his daughter to school, he met the writer's wife. The woman revealed that behind her back, her husband was talking about how Vic was indeed involved in the pianist's murder, but Kelly didn't approve of his actions. She didn't want to invite Melinda to the party at all, knowing her windy nature. Vic calmed the woman down and invited the pair of them to dinner. In the evening, the Wilsons arrived at the Van Allen house. Melinda was delighted to have guests. Vic showed Don his snail farm and asked the man to stop telling everyone that it was on Ubiel Charlie Delilah because such remarks hurt the writer's reputation. Don was surprised that the landlord wasn't worried about his reputation and asked how he thought the pianist had died and if Victor would be willing to take a lie detector to prove his innocence. The man said yes, and Don thought he was weird. Vic was walking down the street and again saw the car that had been following him. It was empty, but looking into the interior, the man saw a camera. In the cafe near which the car was parked, Vic's wife was sitting with some stranger. The man went inside and sat down with the couple. Melinda had not expected to meet her husband here, but was forced to introduce him to her acquaintance as a therapist. But after talking to the stranger, Vic was convinced he was a private detective. The man went to the Wilson house to find out what purpose Don had hired the man to spy on Victor. Kelly was outraged by Don's act. Her husband began to justify himself and assure everyone that he was not involved. However, Vic had proof. Victor decided to follow his wife and discovered her new friend. The guy was waiting for Melinda at the car, and they went for a walk. In the evening, Trixie asked if it was true that Daddy had killed Charlie. Because there were rumors going around the neighborhood, and everyone was asking the girl about how he had hurt the musician. The man assured the child that he had nothing to do with it, but she didn't believe him, and Vic said it would be their secret. He put his daughter to bed when the phone rang downstairs. Melinda picked it up and began chatting sweetly with someone about a trip to Brazil. Later, as the woman was taking a bath, Victor wanted to talk to her, but she ignored him. Victor invited Tony Cameron, that new friend of his wife's, to visit. The guy admired his host's snail farm. The men moved to talk in the kitchen, and Melinda came out to meet her friend. The woman behaved provocatively and began to tell that Tony was her first man when she moved to America. The guy was embarrassed by his friend's revelations in front of her husband. To defuse the situation, Tony suggested adding some snails to the dish, but Vic was against it. Mel spitefully encouraged her husband to go for snails. Then Victor told the guest an interesting fact that if you eat full snails, you can get poison. During dinner, everyone was having fun except the owner of the house. Melinda took the guest upstairs, and Victor followed them. The woman saw her husband on the stairs when she was flirting with Tony. The next day, Victor met Tony on the street and, saying that his wife wanted to show him a building but couldn't get through, offered him a ride. On the way, the men talked about Melinda. Vic rode very fast and brought the boy to the gorge and got rid of his rival. The man went downstairs to check on the boy's condition and to hide evidence of his crime. The man arrived home in a good mood and found his wife playing with their daughter. He asked Mel about the recent guest because he liked the guy. Melinda was wary, and as the family ate lunch, she tried to call her buddy. Later, she gathered with her daughter for a picnic to the gorge and invited her husband along. While relaxing on the grass, a man reminds her that he loves her, and Melinda decided to warm his hands. To please his wife, the man gave her a book with pictures she didn't know about, which touched the woman. Trixie was chasing a puppy and got close to the water. Victor ran after her and saw a body floating further downstream. He didn't want the family to see it, and they drove home. But it turned out that Melinda had left her scarf at the picnic site. The man promised to go get it in the morning. After arriving home, Vic was reading books, and Mia asked her husband to go to bed tonight in her room. He agreed. The couple lay on the bed. Melinda stroked Victor's face and told him that she loved him, after which they spent an active time. In the morning, Victor drove to the gorge. Melinda was looking for her husband and walked into the room with his snails. She started looking through the shelves and found Tony's wallet. This upset the woman. Victor arrived at the gorge and tried to hide the evidence under the water again. The man did not see that the writer was watching him. The acquaintance asked what Victor was doing in the river, and the man replied that his wife had forgotten a scarf here. He was looking for it. The writer then waved that very red scarf and decided to go down to see V's.